am recording this right now. It is Monday, October 20th. NFL Week 7, college football Week 8 reaction show. And if you're watching on YouTube right now, usually it'll cut to 3 people on the show. If you're listening on audio, you're just like, what is going on here? What are you talking about? Clearly, there is just one person here. It is a solo show today. I am disgusted. I am disappointed. Connor and Dylan are not on the show today. Connor's currently in Saudi Arabia right now, raising NIL funding for Bill Belichick's buyout now, which is ironic because Bill Belichick and company had to go to Saudi Arabia to get money for NIL. So very funny there. And then meanwhile, Dylan he escaped. He's not even in Ohio anymore. He's in the Zion or something. I don't know where he's at. They're hiding. They're hiding from the people. I don't know what's going on, but disappointed, disgusted. If you've watched the show, you saw the BYU Utah clips this week. You heard us talk about it on the preview show, and you heard how this is going to be an embarrassment for BYU. Oh, this is going to be awful for the Cougars, and oh, Utah's going to win this one huge. Now I'm like I'm doing the Will Smith meme right now. I'm just sitting here alone with my hands in my pocket. Like, where is everybody? I have to come on here alone. Upset by it. I'm upset by it, but that's okay. In reality, Dylan told me weeks in advance he was never going to be on this show. Anyways, we tried to make it happen. He's in Vegas right now. Not going to be able to hop on. Connor sent in a reaction video. We'll react to that here in a second when we dive into this BYU Utah game. So wanted to get that out of the way first. But football show, reaction show. I do want to start in college football, and we are going to start in Provo, Utah, with BYU winning 24-21 again. It's been 6 years. 6 years, 2019, August 2019. I was actually at that game. One of my first BYU games. First Holy War I've ever been to. I haven't been to one since. Maybe I'll never go because BYU is undefeated in the last 3 times they've played, 3-0. It's been 6 years since the Utah Utes have beaten BYU. And the national media, and this is the thing when we talk about like the clip going crazy or whatever in BYU and Utah circles before the game and everything, I don't think people on the national landscape fully realize how nasty and how bitter of a rivalry the Holy War actually is. Honestly, until this week, until we got a full-on ranked matchup when they're both in Power 4 conferences, and it actually felt like it truly, truly meant something when maybe in the Independent and Mountain West days, it only meant so much outside of the state of Utah. But I think people got a great taste of that this week with Big Noon kickoff there and how insane the environment was at Lavelle Edwards Stadium in Provo, Utah on Saturday night. We'll dive into the game here in a second, but wanted to talk more about the clip and everything going viral because I don't think Dylan and Connor understand. I don't think they were prepared for what was about to happen because I don't think I warned them. I said this is a big time rivalry. This is one of the top rivalries in the sport. And when they said that immediately after the show, I said, "Oh man, you got just be ready. Just be ready for it." And our notifications on all social media accounts were blown up all weekend. But let's get into the game. BYU wins 24-21. Let's start on the Utah side of things first. Let's talk about the nasty part first. They have no weapons downfield, and this is something I should have mentioned more in the preview show. Utah has no weapons going downfield. Utah, the only way they're going to win football games this year is they have to play like a service academy at this point. Because if they go, this was my argument for why the Texas Tech game mattered so much to me instead of Arizona State, West Virginia, or even when UCLA had Deshaun Foster there at the beginning of the season. Those games did not matter as much because they're playing against nobodies. It's the defenses. It doesn't matter. But when you're playing against a legit defense, which BYU's defense is, it flat out is, and we saw that again on Saturday night. This team has no way to beat you vertically, really. It is all going to have to be Dampier in the run game with their legs, and the offensive line didn't show out. This was supposed to be one of the best, if not the best offensive line in the country, and BYU handled them no problem and was getting pressure on them all night. Kyle Whittingham might just be washed, and the game might have passed him by, and it might be time for Kyle Whittingham to retire, because I said it on the pregame show again. I said the reason Kyle Whittingham came back is because he lost that game in Salt Lake City last year with the holding call and Jake Retzlaff and everything, Will Ferrin hitting the big kick at the end of the game. That's why Kyle Whittingham came back, is to beat BYU. If he wins that BYU game last year, he was always going to retire last year. He was done. He was done after that season. I know for a fact, and I think that BYU loss changed his mindset and said, I have to do this one more time. I really wouldn't be surprised if he tried to go one more go around, but he's at the end, man. He's at the end of his time there. This Utah team, they're done. Yeah, they only have one. They're technically they have a chance to still go to the Big 12 title game if they win out and everything, but eventually they're not a threat at all because they can't throw the ball. They have nothing going deep, and that's just what it is for this Utah team. On the BYU side of things, BYU gets the win. This is unbelievable. I mean, Saturday night was just awesome. I was up till 2 a.m. looking at Twitter replies, looking at Instagram replies, just seeing all the tweets, seeing BYU defensive backs talking smack about Dampier. Really is a simple-minded passer, and their schemes are so easy to read. This falls down to, is BYU legit? Is this iteration of BYU football a legit football team that can make noise? I'm not saying national title contender. I'm saying, can they make noise in the college football playoff? Can they actually even make the college football playoff? This game showed they can make the college football playoff. You're 7-0. You're undefeated in the Big 12. One loss the rest of the way might honestly get this team into the college football playoff, especially if you look at the situation we had last year with Clemson SMU. You can't fault the team for losing in the conference title game. We'll see, but I do think this BYU team can make a little bit of noise in the postseason. That defense, man, is just swarming. And then Bear Bachmeier, he is just that dude. He is tough. The run game is legit. Their passing game is definitely limited, and that's what will come to bite them in the butt once they have to play, one of the top dogs in the country if they end up making the college football playoff. But once again, BYU 7-0, back-to-back seasons. BYU starts the season 9-0 last year, finished 11-2 with the Alamo Bowl win, and then 7-0 this year. My bigger point from this game is the national disrespect that is shown towards not just BYU, but mainly Kalani Sitake when we talk about these legitimate top-tier head coaches and who deserves more respect. Because Whittingham always gets it nonstop, and rightfully so. He's shown it for a ton of years. I'm not trying to say he shouldn't get that. But Kalani deserves this kind of respect now. I mean, yeah, you can say, they haven't really played anybody. 9-0 and 7-0 when this team was projected to finish bottom of the Big 12 last season and then middle of the road this season. Meanwhile, they are still at the top of the conference at this point, back-to-back years, and that has to be a credit to Kalani Sitake, and he deserves a lot more respect. And I think you're going to start seeing that more and more this week after the Utah win, and this is just awesome. BYU 7-0. And it's awesome I can start the A block of this show, since Connor and Dylan aren't here, with BYU Utah, because that's what I want to do this whole time. I might as well just jump right into the Panthers. That'll be later in the show. Don't worry. But BYU wins 24-21. Connor has a reaction clip I need to play here. We'll react live. I haven't watched it or anything, so we'll pull this up real quick. We'll react live. Let's see what Connor had to say. You guys wanted the updates. I made at least one person give an update, so here we go.
All right, I was asked by Karter to make a little video this week to respond to, got a lot of engagement, to say the least, on these BYU Utah pregame picks. Unfortunately, can't be on the recap show this week. I know we're really good at what we do and really entertaining, but this actually isn't our full-time job. Shocker, I get it, shocker. But anyways, I'll come on here. First things first, saw a lot of this. I'm not a Utah fan. Yes, I picked Utah. Yes, I was high on them coming into the year. As you can see behind me, I'm actually a UNC fan, which...
And he's talking about being a UNC fan. This is why he's currently in a hotel room in Saudi Arabia recording this.
These days, maybe I don't speak too loudly of. I just keep telling myself basketball season's coming soon.
Well, their basketball team is going to be terrible.
Now, I'll start with a little credit to BYU. I was wrong. Hand up, put it in the clip, Karter. I was wrong. Bear Bachmeier, true freshman, in this environment, big game, a lot of pressure on him. Played great. I thought he played a great game. For a true freshman to be having this good of a season is very impressive. So many big plays. That last touchdown run on 3rd and 10 I thought was awesome. And BYU, I think they were 4 for 4 on scoring and red zone trips for BYU. Utah only scored on 2 of their 4. So, like I said, BYU executed down the stretch especially. I thought it was a great game from him.
Bear Bachmeier is that guy. Bear Bachmeier, he is just such, real quick, I'm going to interrupt here. Bear Bachmeier is such a fun quarterback to root for your team. The fact that this kid is a true freshman, you would have no idea the balls on this kid, the hits he takes, and he fears no defender on planet Earth, which is scary if you're like, hey, this is our quarterback, like this is our program-setting quarterback. We need you going forward. Doesn't matter. He's dragging 5 dudes along to win game-winning touchdown, icing the game. That Bear Bachmeier touchdown will be played in Holy War packages forever.
Now, yeah, and the BYU defense did enough too. They made Dampier uncomfortable enough on some of these situations. I thought they didn't really stop the run, but they made him uncomfortable enough. Now, look,
they made him very.
I would be remiss if I didn't bring up a couple of these numbers. Did BYU truly beat Utah, or was it more of, hey, Utah kind of shot themselves in the foot over and over again? Muff punt right before halftime, free 3 points for BYU. 12 penalties for 77 yards for the Utes on Saturday night. That was a killer. The 2 turnovers were a killer. I know BYU had the 1 pick that was called back due to a penalty, but other than that, they were clean. And Utah, they even outgained BYU by 100 yards, held BYU to 3 of 12 on 3rd down, but just the repeated mistakes, shooting yourself in the foot, kind of reminded me of Duke, but I digress on that. I don't want to take any credit away from BYU, but I do think Utah definitely didn't do themselves any favors. Now, I also think the BYU defense wasn't awesome, but they did enough. I thought Dampier would come out there and shred them, and he really didn't. A lot of big spots, he was uncomfortable. So BYU did good there. Real quick, national landscape-wise, I'm going to be honest here. National landscape-wise, I'm not going to waver on this. I'm not confident in BYU's ability to beat teams in the upper echelon of college football. Now, look, are they a top 15 team? Yes, they deserve that ranking. They are on the top 15, top 12 team for sure. But come on, I'm picking Texas Tech 10 times out of 10. If they play tomorrow, I'm picking Texas Tech. And unless something drastic changes in the next 3 weeks, I'm picking Texas Tech. Spoiler. Now, is there a chance BYU finishes with 1 loss and maybe even runs the table and makes the playoff? Sure. But I think it's a lot more likely they probably drop to Texas Tech on the road, and then they either lose one of Iowa State this weekend, or even TCU's kind of a slip-up spot. So, in my opinion, I think BYU finishes 10-2. I don't know on the national landscape where that puts them, but overall, that would be a ginormous success with a true freshman quarterback who was in a QB battle to start the year. To go 10-2 like that, if that does happen, ginormous success. So shout out BYU.
This is patronizing. This is condescending right now because you're sitting there being like, "Oh, this is cute. You go 10-2. This would be a huge accomplishment. You're 7-0. Let's go to the playoff. You can beat anybody on a given day. Nobody in college football is that good. We just saw Texas Tech lose on the road to Arizona State. We'll get into that game later. Anything's on the table. BYU can beat Texas Tech. Games in a couple weeks. Very excited. We'll keep going.
I was wrong on them. Coming into the year, I did not think very highly of them at all. I don't think Karter or Dylan did either, so I'm not alone there.
My best bet was BYU over 7.5
so far. And Bear Bachmeier is the truth. I think he's electric. I love that he wears number 47, and he had a great game. So, BYU fans, is this what you wanted? State of the Union. I'm sorry, I was wrong. But you know what? What's the point of us coming on here every week and making predictions? If that's the whole point of this show, is to make predictions, get people talking, get some engagement. That's what we want to do. Are we going to pick every game right? Absolutely not. But I came on here and said Tennessee's going to get steamrolled by Alabama. You see that clip out there? Got 5 likes. I pick against BYU and we blow up on X. So, you can't win for losing with that. But anyways, it's all in good fun.
I said it.
Last thing I'll say, some of the fans, guys, it's every fan base I know, but especially this week with BYU fans, just don't get so butthurt when we pick the team. Now, Dylan didn't do himself any favors with they've had a cute season and all this. I get it. I'd be a little pressed at that if I was a fan, but just some people need to just take a little dose of chillax medicine, a little, pump the brakes juice in the comments. I think a lot of it is it's like, come on, we're just picking against your football team. We're not insulting you or your family or something. But it's all in good fun. I love.
We're living rent free, boys.
Comments all the time. SEC fan bases, same deal. You pick against Georgia, you're getting absolutely torched in the comments. So I get it. Now, real quick before I close here. A couple of the comments. Yes, I played sports in high school. Look, I basketball, football for a year, played right tackle. Wasn't really for me. But yes, I played basketball in high school. A couple D2, D3 offers. Was I going to be any good past the high school level? Probably not. 6'5", can't jump, undersized center. Wasn't going to happen. But to everyone in the comments,
he should have stuck with football.
Come play me one-on-one and get this work.
Story.
I might have to fly up to Provo, Utah, and set up shop at one of the church ball gyms and just set up shop and just host a one-on-one, because nobody that was commenting in the comments saying, "Oh, you're so unathletic," you couldn't guard my post game. Baby hook over the left shoulder, off the glass, drop step. Karter knows. Yeah, good. Come get this work. No, but on a serious note, love the engagement. I'm not going to pick against BYU every week. I love BYU. Been playing in the church basketball gyms all my life. So, yep, that's all I got here. I went about 5 minutes, probably a little too long, but yeah, we'll just go from there, and I will see you guys on the preview show this week. Big show coming.
All right. That took a minute, but I'm glad he did the reaction video. Connor, shout out. Thank you for making the reaction video. Unlike the other person that said it's going to be an embarrassment, I only asked for like a 30-second clip for an update, but, can't do it over there in Las Vegas, apparently, with the Dylan Wilkerson camp. But anyhow, we need to quickly wrap up this game because we got a lot more to talk about. But a few closing notes there. One, playing Connor one-on-one in basketball, I agree with this sentiment because people freak out if you pick against their team. I get it. It's easy to dunk on, and you want to do it, and you see people picked against your team, and you're pissed off. And I get it. I understand the game. But you got to if we're going to do these shows, you make a prediction on these games. You have to pick one team. One team has to lose. So I get that part as well. At the same time, Connor said he'll fly to Provo, Utah, and play one-on-one. Just guard his right hand. Guard the right hand. Don't make him go left. Just make him go left, and you'll be all right. Don't worry, guys. I got you. Now, if we played a little 2-on-2 action, it might be barbecue chicken for anybody that wants to play this podcast. So just putting that out there. Get the keys to the gym, and it's over for you. But I thought that was condescending. If you're a BYU fan listening to this, wanting to some instant reaction show or whatever, or some update being like, oh, I was wrong, and there's a lot of this team still sucks in there. There was just, I don't believe in this team still sucks. That's how you should feel. BYU has to go prove them wrong. They have to go prove this. I know Dylan feels the exact same way. Dylan's probably going to come on the preview show and be like, BYU's going to be a 9-3 team. BYU has to go prove them wrong again. I feel free to dunk on them constantly, but also BYU fans, every college fan base is the exact same. Everyone's crazy, but I guess that's why college football is awesome. But anyhow, awesome stuff. I couldn't believe BYU. I'm so happy BYU won. Very, 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 very happy. And I can't stand Utah, man. I can't stand Utah. That was unbelievable winning that game. And I don't think I have any more notes on this game, so we could probably finally move on. I know that was 18 minutes on BYU Utah, but I thought it was well deserved. So anyhow, let's move on. Let's dive into the rest of these games. I've had a bad season picking college football games this year so far. I cannot pick a thing right recently until this week. I had a week, fellas. Notre Dame 2 scores, bang. Alabama rolling over Tennessee, bang. BYU over Utah, bang, bang, bang. Georgia over Ole Miss, bang. Minnesota over Nebraska, called that one left, right, and straight, bang. 7.5-point underdog. Vandy over LSU. I mean, I was reading the board like a savant on Saturday. Unbelievable stuff. Let's dive in. Georgia 43, Ole Miss 35. Credit to Gunnar Stockton in this game and the Georgia Bulldogs, because I just don't have a read on this Georgia team. I don't have a read on Gunnar Stockton. My read would be Gunnar Stockton is a gamer. He's got that. Everyone likes to do the Baker Mayfield comparisons, or the frisky dude who can get hot randomly kind of thing, almost like Geno Smith too, where just not Geno Smith this year, but Geno Smith of the last 3 years when he was in Seattle, where it's just you don't know what you're going to get on a given day. Sometimes he might look like a Heisman candidate, and the next week he looks like the most average quarterback you've ever seen in the country. But my bigger problem with this Georgia team is the defense. The defense is going to be the reason why they don't win a national championship this year. It's not going to be because of Gunnar Stockton. He absolutely can be a national title-worthy quarterback. Ole Miss, this is just kind of another classic slip-up spot again, where it's just Did Lane Kiffin actually win the big one by beating number 4 LSU, which was like probably the most fraudulent number 4 team we've had? We know what LSU is. If Lane Kiffin's going against Alabama, Georgia, it's just hard for me to back him. And then you see when it's a 7-point spread like this, we got proven right once again. But I still believe both these teams are national title contenders. But these defenses, man, they got to tighten up if they're going to actually, win 3-4 playoff games this season. But long season to go. Both their defenses really do scare me. But Georgia, big win. Shout out Georgia. Notre Dame 34, USC Notre Dame 34, USC 24. This game proved to the college football world that Notre Dame's going to the college football playoff, and I have been banging the Notre Dame drum all season long. This team is a national title contender. The defense has gotten better since the beginning of the season against A&M or even Miami. They have tightened some things up. Yeah, they gave up 24, but that USC offense is a good offense too, so don't get me wrong. But Notre Dame has the best quarterback-running back duo in the country. C.J. Carr is a solid quarterback. No, he's not a Heisman-level quarterback, but you know who is a Heisman-level player is Jeremiah Love, and who very well might go 1 or 2 in next year's NFL draft. He is that good, and the quarterbacks in the country have been that bad this season. Notre Dame, and then you have Price come as a backup running back. I mean, they could arguably have 2 of the best running backs in the country in one running back room there. They're absolutely a national title contender in a year where no one feels super dominant yet. I know Ohio State is undefeated and has taken care of opponents fairly easily outside of Texas. I'm going to need to see Ohio State play a legitimate offense and a team with a pulse before I fully say they are head and shoulders above everybody else in college football. And I still think Indiana is, like, if Indiana and Ohio State play on a neutral field, like, I think that's an actual game still. And any of these teams can beat Ohio State because we kind of saw it week 1 with Texas. I'm going to need to see it with Ohio State a little bit more, just a little bit more before I say they're above everybody else. But this Notre Dame team, man, they're legit. They're legit. And it went out. The schedule's very easy to close the season. 10-2, you're in the playoff if you're Notre Dame, and then I think they are going to be right there in the mix for the national title. I've been wanting to make a national title bet here soon. I did it with the NFL. I went in on the Rams this season. I think I might take the Fighting Irish this week. I think I might take the Fighting Irish to win the national title. They're currently, I think, 1,300 to win the national title. I kind of like that a lot. But I'll make that announcement on the preview show of what team I pick. And that'll just be, I'm doing one national title bet. That's it. We're rocking with that team going forward. Maybe it'll be, BYU's already been bet, by the way. If people are listening to this being like, you're a BYU fan, like, what are you talking about here? Take BYU. I've already taken them. I got them at plus 20,000. I took it again at plus 17,500 or whatever. So we'll have generational wealth if that hits. But USC on the other side of this one. USC, I never thought this team was legit. I never thought they're solid. They're going to be that super fake in the hunt college football playoff team that goes 9-3, but they're like 19th in the country with no really good wins on their resume. That's kind of what this team is. And honestly, like, I don't think you move on from Lincoln Riley or anything. You just got to put a little more NIL money and recruit a little bit better and get some guys on that team. And I think Maiyava can be a good quarterback in college football. I think he is a good quarterback. So Notre Dame or USC, like, I don't think I don't think all is bad, but I don't think this USC team is anywhere near a college football playoff contender, let alone, making any noise in the college football playoff if they were to magically make it. But let's move on. Alabama 37, Tennessee 20. Now, like I talked about with Ohio State, I need to see them play a couple more bigger games before I definitively say this about Ohio State being the best team in the country. I'm almost there. I just need to see a little bit more. But this Alabama team is talking to me, and Connor and Dylan were on it big time in the previews before the season, and I made sure to hop on that train as soon as I could in week 3 of this season. This Alabama team is very good, and this Alabama team, I think, is easily the best in the SEC, let alone might be the best in the country. If we put these teams on a neutral field, Ohio State may be favored by one, but I think these are two of the best teams in the country at this point. Kalen DeBoer was in deep, deep crap. And we're going to look back on that FSU loss and go, what? How? How did that happen? And Kalen DeBoer has absolutely saved his job. And I love how so quickly there's not even talks about Kalen DeBoer's buyout or anything like that. We had poor middle-aged women in the state of Alabama playing the lottery, hoping to pay for Kalen DeBoer's buyout. Crazy, crazy stuff. But good for him. Ty Simpson, man, I mean, he's got to be close to the Heisman favorite right now if he's not already the clear Heisman favorite after Carson Beck's debacle on Friday night. So this is kind of the same story in this game where it's just Alabama is just the much better team. And I called this in the preview. Joey Aguilar, he is so prone to making boneheaded, game-changing turnovers. And we saw that at the end of the half with the pick six. That was the game right there. Tennessee could have been in this game, could have won this game, and then that pick six changed everything, and that was it right there. Tennessee had no chance of winning the game going into halftime after a momentum-changing play like that. Finishing up on Alabama, I kind of want to say they're the best team in the country. And they just keep proving it to me week after week after week. Yeah, they had a close one against Missouri. Missouri's a good team. They play a gauntlet of a schedule in the SEC. And you can say, oh, well, Ohio State's in the Big Ten. They've played ranked Illinois and all this stuff. I'm sorry. Illinois and Missouri are not the same team. Tennessee and Illinois are not the same team. Those are much, much better teams. And we have these fake ranking games of these like the sixth best team in the Big Ten, like Washington or whatever. Those teams are bottom of the barrel in the SEC. The SEC is so deep. And you're like, Karter, SEC bias. What is happening right here? I'm just calling it like I see it. I'm sorry. Purdue, Northwestern, Rutgers, UCLA, all these teams, maybe not UCLA now, go into the SEC. They're not winning a game. They're not winning one game this year. That's just the matter of the fact. The Alabama's I gotta see it. Just be patient, Karter. Let's talk about Tennessee. Tennessee, this is an interesting conversation. After losing to Georgia, Bam, it feels like people are going to be fully out on Tennessee and they're done. They're not going to really think about them kind of going forward the rest of the season. Kind of like what we did with Notre Dame after they lost to Northern Illinois, where they don't necessarily feel as Tennessee's a real threat to make the college football playoff. Tennessee's remaining schedules at Kentucky, home Oklahoma, home New Mexico State, at Florida, home Vandy. That's a winnable schedule. Tennessee is a clear path. Win out, you're in the college football playoff at that point. And obviously a lot easier said than done, and you got to play OU's defense. You got to go into the swamp. This Vandy team's looking all right. But I still think that's a very, very winnable schedule. Now, if I had to predict, I think Tennessee goes 9-3 and just misses out on the college football playoff. Tennessee fan, if you're a Tennessee fan listening to this right now, not all hope is lost. You can absolutely win out the rest of the way and make the college football playoff still. You absolutely can. Don't think that's going to happen, but I think people are going to write off this Tennessee team. And if you think, hey, this team can win out, this team can go to the college football playoff, you got to go take it. You got to go take the number right now. You are not going to find a lower number for them to have a legitimate shot, because if they lose one more game, it's over. They're not going to the CFP. So, Tennessee, there's still hope. And we'll get to this when we have Connor and Dylan back, and assuming Connor flies home safely from Saudi Arabia with his boy Lombardi, and Dylan returns from, his hideout in Zion. He's going on a spiritual journey because his picks this year has just been so doo-doo. He had to go on a spiritual journey to Zion to find himself and figure out how can I make real good college football predictions. I'm saying the Cougars are going to get embarrassed and the other team gets embarrassed. But real quick, also Connor said this BYU defense, it wasn't good and didn't show anything. That's box score Billy stuff right there. That is absolutely this BYU defense was putting Utah in a tizzy outside of the jet sweeps. Dan Peters had to get it done with his legs. They were not giving up anything in the air in that game. BYU's defense had Dan Peters in hell in that game. That was a crazy statement. That was box score Billy stuff right there. That is not watching football game. Wanted that in there. So, But we'll talk about college football playoff stuff probably on the preview show. But I really don't think there's going to be a 3-loss team this year. I just think there's too many teams that are going to be close to undefeated 1-2 losses that are going to get in, like a Missouri who might have a better schedule that's going to get in over a 9-3 Tennessee team, even if Tennessee might have slightly better wins. We kind of did that song and dance last year, and none of the 9-3 teams got in, and rightfully so, in my opinion. Alabama, you can't lose to Vandy on the road. But speaking of Vandy takes down LSU. And I think Vanderbilt ended the Brian Kelly era, whether he gets fired or not until next season. If you're an LSU booster right now, after a game like that and after the Ole Miss game, and just seeing that this just does not fit in Baton Rouge with Brian Kelly, you're not going to put up the money for next season. You're not going to put up millions of dollars for NIL recruits for Brian Kelly. Yeah, they'll get some money because that's just how this thing works, and you have to put up. But you're not willing to put up a $5 million check that you would if a new coach came in. John Gruden. I don't know. But if a guy like Gruden comes in, you're willing to put up that $5 million check. With Brian Kelly, you're not doing that anymore. It's done. It's over. It's over in Baton Rouge for Brian Kelly. Every LSU fan should be out on Brian Kelly. It doesn't fit. I understand the buyout and everything, and it's, guess what? Penn State figured out how to pay the buyout, and Brian Kelly's is enormous, and who knows if they're ever going to be able to get him out of there, but it's not going to happen at LSU for Brian Kelly. It just never fit, and we tried to force it for years, and yay, 10 wins and whatnot. There's just been a lot of wasted talent with the Brian Kelly teams. He's had he had the Heisman with Jaden Daniels. That defense was pathetic that season. It's just not there. And then you just see how fragile he is after the Florida game when the LSU reporter asked a legitimate question that should be a concern is, why can't this team run the ball? If you're going to be a national title contender, how can you not run the ball? What's going on with Garrett Nussmeier? Those were fair questions at the time, and clearly they were real concerns then, and Brian Kelly was concerned about them then and spazzed out in the press conference like he did. It's over. It's just done in LSU. Diego Pavia talked a lot of crap before the Alabama game and didn't necessarily fully back it up against them. He backed it up against LSU on Saturday. You have to take Vandy as a serious college football playoff contender now. I mean, it's on. They're not a joke anymore. And I know we've done that last year where it's like, oh, Vandy, they're not a joke anymore, obviously. But no. Vanderbilt can actually make noise come the college football playoff. If they were to somehow make it, go 10-2, sneak into the college football playoff, in a one-off game, they can beat anybody in the country. I firmly believe that. And you go, well, they didn't beat Alabama. They didn't beat them in Tuscaloosa. That game was close. That score lied. That game was way closer. And also, if this is on a neutral field in the quarterfinal of the college football playoff, Diego Pavia is one of the few quarterbacks you want on your side, especially in a year of very mid-quarterback play, for being honest. And, yeah, you see the rest of the schedule. Missouri, at Texas, Auburn, Kentucky, at Tennessee. Tough schedule. Every schedule in the SEC is tough, don't get me wrong. If Vandy makes the college football playoff, they absolutely can win a game or two and make some noise in it. So shout out Vanderbilt, big win. We got to move on. I'm going slow on this one. BYU Utah deserved 20 minutes on this podcast though. Duke loses 18-27 to Georgia Tech. Big win for Georgia Tech. And honestly, the wrong team won this game, but I can't keep saying that with Duke. I say that every single time they lose, and I go, the wrong team won. The wrong team won. Eventually, the right team won this game, and that's just what this Duke team is. Just silly, boneheaded mistakes by this team constantly, and eventually that's just who you are. If you're going to do that in 3 different spots, that's just who you are. And we'll get into another silly team that I have a lot to talk about here in a second in the SEC. Looking at you, Hugh Freeze. Duke just shoots themselves in the foot again. Georgia Tech, they should just be able to walk right into Charlotte and play for a college football playoff spot in Charlotte, North Carolina in the ACC title game. This Georgia Tech team, shout out them. Haynes King, they just get it done once again. This Georgia Tech and BYU are the exact same football team where maybe, they got lucky and got out of a game alive. Georgia Tech and Winston-Salem against Wake Forest and BYU against Arizona on the road. Somehow they got out of those games alive, made it happen. they just keep winning. They also play the exact same. Haynes King and Bear Bachmeier are basically the same quarterback. Bear's just a little bit younger than him. Both have guts. Both are gamers. Both run the ball insanely well. Very big fan of this Georgia Tech team. I was a big fan of them going into this season. So was Connor as well. Dylan and I, who have a lot of Duke stock, this took a hit. I'm just begging for Duke to hit their win total now, and they need to just go ahead and book their hotels in Charlotte, North Carolina, not for the ACC title game, but for the Duke's Mayo Bowl, because that's where they're going. Auburn loses in double overtime to Mizzou, 23-17, and I've been an Auburn truther this year. They have cost me some currency this season, to say the least. The Auburn Tigers are one of the most frustrating teams I have ever watched in my life in college football. Auburn has lost 4 straight games, and to be honest, if you have watched any of those games, Auburn should have won all 4 of those games. This defense is a top 3 defense in the country. No questions asked. This offense and this coaching staff, specifically the head coach Hugh Freeze, just mind-numbing stuff. How stupid they are, and how they have blown these games. If any decent head coach was coaching the Auburn Tigers right now, they would be at least 5-2, probably 6-1. It is disgusting what Hugh Freeze has done with this program. If I am an Auburn fan, how is he not out the door right now? How is he not fired immediately? Figure out some way to get him out. Raise enough money. Call Charles Barkley. Do whatever you have to do to get him out of there, because it's done. It is absolutely not going to work for the Auburn Tigers going forward. And for as good of a defense as they have, and honestly, for as good of a team as they have, I know the offensive line isn't great. I get that. But in these games, it hasn't been totally on the offensive line. Coaching decisions. And then also the refs have screwed Auburn twice. Absolutely. Oklahoma and Georgia. The refs flat out screwed over the Auburn Tigers. But Missouri, you're telling me that wasn't on Hugh Freeze and Jackson Arnold? It is so frustrating watching this Auburn team. They should be in the race for the SEC. They should be in a college football contender race. Instead, they're going to sit there and maybe make a bowl game because they have a boneheaded head coach and a quarterback that continuously makes silly mistakes behind a very average offensive line. So, I'm so disappointed in Auburn, so disappointed, and I'm going to continue to bet them because they're winning one of these games. And especially if we have an interim coach Iron Bowl. That has Auburn written all over it, baby. That has Auburn. And I know I just talked about how great Alabama is, and the Iron Bowl, throw out numbers, throw out stats. Doesn't matter. Auburn can absolutely beat Alabama, and they're playing spoiler to one of these teams at the end of the season. But you got to find a replacement for Hugh Freeze, and you got to find one now. I said it for LSU. Get John Gruden to Auburn. I think that'd be an awesome fit. But anyhow, shout out Mizzou. They get it done again in this game, and they're another team. They got to go. If they get 10-2, they're going to the college football playoff. I don't necessarily put Mizzou in that national title contender category yet. I still have a lot of questions about Bo Perbula's arm, but they get it done. Prove me wrong this week, and they're going to continue to prove people wrong going forward this season. So, all right, we've done a lot. And we still got to get to the NFL, and this has been a semi-solo show. Shout out Connor's reaction video. So let's quickly run through this. Texas Tech loses to Arizona State 22-26. Kenny Dillingham quit the post-game interview, mid-interview. She was asked him a question. He goes, yeah. And then she gets in his ear and yells the question. He could definitely hear it at that point. And then he starts tearing up and then just walks away. I get you want to go celebrate with your team. I understand that the post-game interviews don't necessarily matter that much. Dude, just do the post-game interview. Just answer a couple questions. What are we doing here? I just get sick of the Kenny Dillingham show that he puts on with some of this stuff. It's a more lighthearted version of Dan Hurley, just trying to put on this weird show. And also, I get it's a big win. I get you beat a top 10 team at home and you're emotional and everything. At the same time, you can't. You were the preseason Big 12 favorite. You went to the college football playoff last year. Texas Tech had a backup quarterback playing in this game. I get you beat a top 10 team. You should celebrate. Crying like that, unless there's something I don't know going on behind the scenes, something personal, I don't get it. I don't get it. It's just it's just everything feels weird with Kenny Dillingham, in my opinion. And maybe I'm the weird one, and maybe I'm wrong, but it just feels weird. Will Hammond, we're a big fan of him on this podcast, and he might have lost himself a little bit of money going into this transfer portal after this game. He had a real chance to maybe even steal the starting job and also make himself millions upon millions upon millions of dollars next season going into the transfer portal or staying at Texas Tech for that matter. I still believe in Texas Tech. I still think they're probably the favorite for the Big 12, them and BYU, maybe Cincinnati going forward. I don't necessarily still believe in this Arizona State team, but they do have a very favorable schedule to close the year. Honestly, their slip-up spot's probably against Houston if they have one, but it's just going to come down to these weird tiebreakers at the end of the season. So we'll see. Miami loses to Louisville. That was a prime example of why I wasn't in on this Miami team in the preseason and what the Carson Beck experience is all about. This is why Carson Beck should have never, ever, ever, ever been a co-favorite or a favorite for the Heisman Trophy for this season. His stats were fine, but my gosh, at some point, these interceptions have piled up too much. 4 interceptions in this game. He single-handedly cost them this game against Louisville. And Miami, now you're in a spot, if you're the Miami Hurricanes, where, look, you've got these teams like Georgia Tech and Virginia who are undefeated in the ACC. If you slip up against an SMU or a Pitt or an NC State going forward, you're not going to the college football playoff because you're not going to the ACC title game. You have to, if you're in the ACC or the Big 12, you have to go to the conference title game to even be able to be considered for the playoff. And if they lose one more, it's over for the Miami Hurricanes. And I think they might slip up one more. Carson Beck, he has these games in him where people go, oh, well, he's not going to throw 4 interceptions again. Yes, he absolutely is. We've seen this throughout his career. He will throw 3 to 4 interceptions again. If Miami is not playing with a lead and Carson Beck has to play from behind, he's going to be so prone to make these big-time mistakes. I worry about Miami going forward. I still think you have to consider them with that defense as a contender. But man, that Carson Beck's demons came back to bite him again in this one. Shout out Louisville winning this game. Ohio State just absolutely demolished Wisconsin 34-0. My only takeaway from this game, one, Ohio State, very good. They're still very good. How does Luke Fickell have a job still? How is Wisconsin not figured out how to get rid of him? Like, if you're going to fire him in the offseason, unless you're just trying to still raise money to pay for the buyout and there's weird clauses in his contract, get him out of there. There's no point in leaving a guy that's just not going to be there next season. Just get it done. Just get away and start your head. I'm sure they've already been consulting with getting with consulting firms to get their next head coach in the building somehow. So, Ohio State, nice win, I guess. Texas A&M beats Arkansas in a shootout. Score lied a little bit. Texas A&M kind of had this game in hand, but Arkansas is going to play playoff spoiler here soon, whether that's either Texas or Missouri. Arkansas could also next week end Hugh Freeze's time in Auburn, which I kind of hope they do for the sake of Auburn fans. If you're an Auburn fan, you kind of hope to lose next week because you're not going to the college football playoff anymore. That's over. That's done. You kind of hope you just get blown out against Arkansas because then Hugh Freeze has to get fired. You can't let him come back in the building after a blowout loss to Arkansas. Texas A&M, big win. Keep it going. The defense, we'll see. Oklahoma handles South Carolina. Look, we knew the South Carolina team coming into this year. I don't think this is coming as a surprise for anybody that listened to this podcast. They just lost too much, and this Oklahoma D-line was always going to just be able to swarm all over that very meh South Carolina offensive line. That was always going to be a nightmare. So, South Carolina, Beamer ball might not be working over there in Columbia. Texas wins 16-13 in overtime to Kentucky. I was high on this Texas team before the season, but this is they shouldn't even have won this game. They should not be even in the position of having a chance to win out to go to the college football playoff. There's just there's going to be some hard questions Texas is going to have to ask themselves in the offseason when it comes to Arch Manning. And they're also going to be paying a lot of money for new offensive linemen for this Texas team. Defense, still very good. They're keeping them alive in this thing. So that's it for the college football show. That was a lot. That was a lot of solo stuff right there. So 45 minutes in. Thank you for listening if you've made it to this point doing the solo stuff. Make sure to subscribe, KarterKast on everything. Download SeatGeek, $20 off your first purchase. And if you're listening on audio right now, let's swing on over to the NFL after this break.